The following is a special presentation of the Decibel Geek podcast. This is the Decibel Geek podcast with Aaron Camaro and Chris Sinzak.
Yes, we know you love Albums Unleashed, but can you handle it 2 weeks in a row? Well, we're about to find out. Welcome to the Decibel Geek podcast. My name is Aaron Camaro, joined as always by my awesome friend, kick-ass co-host, Chris Sinzak. Are you able to handle it 2 weeks in a row, Chris?
Oh, I know I am. This is a very exciting couple of weeks for us, and double your pleasure, double your
pleasure, double your drums.
I like it.
So yeah, we decided to come back after bringing it to you strong last week with an Albums Unleashed of the debut album by Blue Murder with the one and only Carmine Appice. Man, that guy was amazing. And when we had the opportunity to talk to him, we said, well, you got a brother we'd love to talk to as well. And so we lined it up and made it happen. And this week, it's Albums Unleashed, Dio Holy Diver. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, so Vinny Appice really brought it this episode, and this might be up there with the best Albums Unleashed we've done. Like tons of great stories in this one, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and learned a lot this time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You guys are going to love this. But, of course, before we get to the festivities and the rock, we got to take care of our business. And you know us. We love them. We need them. You can give them to us, reviews and recommendations. I got one right here. It comes to us via Apple Podcasts. It's called Outstanding Surprise, and it's all 5 stars. Goes like this. While trying to find a new music podcast, I found Chris and Aaron. Decibel Geek is like a road trip with your friends talking music. If you even remotely like hard rock or heavy metal, you have to give these guys a listen. Funny and a good source of new music. Thanks, boys. And that comes to us from Dad Shoe, right here in the good old USA. Apple Podcast review. Damn good one, too.
Still picking up new listeners. That's great.
Yeah, after all these years, man, that's got to be a thrill to be like, oh, I really like this. What? There's over 400 episodes.
Yeah, good luck getting caught up.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Bracket Brawl.
Yeah, the Ghost of the Future warning. There's a couple stinkers in there, but, you got plenty of time to catch up. And when you do, we'll be here with Holy Diver. How awesome. Man, a lot of cool stuff going on in the world. A lot of things are lightening up. People are getting back together again. I see concerts are being announced. Things are happening. And you know what's happening this summer? I'm talking about August 6th through the 8th right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Rockin' Pod. What is Rockin' Pod? Well, it's a big old party right here in Music City where we get together, we get rock stars, we get podcasters, we get people selling old rock albums, we get people selling rock t-shirts and posters and a chance to get your autographs and meet your favorite rock stars and hang out with your favorite podcasters and have a good old time all weekend long. Chris, there's been so many awesome announcements already made for Rockin' Pod. I think it's time you lay a big one on the people.
Well, yeah, let's lay one on everyone early because we haven't officially announced it as of the day of this recording. So, if you've enjoyed hearing Carmine and hearing Vinny this week, you'll enjoy meeting them in Nashville because they're coming to Rockin' Pod weekend in August.
Yeah, and if you want to get all your Carmine Appice stuff signed, you better bring a van because there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Vinny, too.
Yeah, I want to get my Holy Diver vinyl signed. I want to get my Blue Murder vinyl signed. There's a lot of stuff going on. They're going to have a table at the expo. They're going to be meeting fans, doing some special meet and greets with photos and stuff. And they might be a part of the pre-party concert. We're still working on that. But there's also going to be an announcement soon that on Sunday, on August 8th, there will be a couple of events featuring Carmine and Vinny at SIR Nashville. Just stay tuned for details on that, but they're going to be pretty exciting. I know you guys are going to dig it.
Heck yeah, just when you thought you couldn't cram any more rock into that weekend, August 6th through the 8th, we found a way to do it. Yes, we're getting everything we can out of that weekend. Right here in Nashville, you want the information, rocknpod.com. Check it out. Get yourself a hotel room so you can stay right there and party with us. We've got rock and roll comedians coming. There's some cool stuff going on after Rockin' Pod. There's the great stuff going on before Rockin' Pod. And then, of course, Saturday, the main event, Rockin' Pod itself. Get all the information at the website, rocknpod.com. Become a part of it. It's time to party again. We're bringing the party back this summer with Rockin' Pod right here in Nashville. Anything else going on? I mean, we're proud to be a part of Pantheon. We know that.
Yeah, and thanks for Carmine and Vinny's rep, Gwen, as she hooked us up with Carmine last week. She helped us get this set up with Vinny today. And, yeah, we're on Pantheon, and Carmine and Vinny have their own show called Hangin' and Bangin' that is also on Pantheon Podcast Network. I also want to plug Vinny's. Every Tuesday night, Vinny does a special stream on Facebook, official Vinny Appice on Facebook. Check that out every Tuesday night.
Yeah, do that because it is awesome. So now we've got all the important stuff out of the way. It's time to have some fun. So we want to thank everybody that tuned in with us last week because we did the Big Old Albums Unleashed with Carmine. This week we got it with Vinny. All the people that took last week's episode when we shared it on Facebook and tweeted it on the Twitter, they retweeted it, they reshared it, however all that works, and they became honorary Geeks of the Week.
Geeks of the Week this week are Adam Cox, Joseph Capone, Jay Shabluski, Jeffrey Mendenhall, Sit and Spin with Joe, Peter Beal, David Glenn, Mark and Jerry BS Sessions, Mark Alden Taylor, Pantheon Podcast, Kevin Williams, Simon Catt, Keith Rockford, David Cathy, Hakan Bergstad, Ed Lopez Reyes, Doug Fox, Jerry Danielson, J.J. McElhenney, Keith Rockford, Kevin's on Fire, Kristen Schimbeck, JJP, Body of the Soul, Ernesto Aguiar, Vet Halen, Amber Brook, Hard Rock Forever, and as always,
the Mooger Fooger. That's right. Those are our people, our rock and roll friends out there helping us share and spread the word about Decibel Geek Podcast. I know a lot of people are going to want to share this episode because there's a lot of people that love the album we're about to break down with you. Chris, are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Holy Diver! All right, man. Well, this is, I got to tell you, it's a thrill, man, to get to talk to you about this because this is, I feel this iconic album. You know, this is one that if I had to choose 10 albums that I could only listen to these for the rest of my life, I'd have to put Holy Diver on that list. Because I'd miss it too bad if I didn't have it. I was just jamming on it today. Not a bad song on it. You know, the whole thing is just killer. But before all this, I mean, without Black Sabbath, there would be no Holy Diver. So I guess, was there a moment when Dio came to you and maybe said, hey, I got to tell you something. We got to get out of here. Was there a moment when that happened?
Yeah, there was a moment, but it wasn't quite like that. And the last Sabbath tour, we recorded Live Evil, and there was a problem with the mixing of that, and things got really bad between Ronnie and Tony and Geezer. I was kind of the new guy, so I had nothing to do with the breakup of it or anything. And then Ronnie had a record deal during Black Sabbath. It was supposed to be a solo deal. Ronnie was going to do a solo album with like everybody does a solo album, get some friends and different musicians and do it like that. Since things kind of turned sour with Sabbath, Ronnie decided he's going to use that album solo deal to do a new band, put together a new band. So we were at the Rainbow Bar and Grill in L.A., in Hollywood, and I remember sitting there and Ronnie said, listen, I'm going to leave the band and I'm going to form and start a new band. I'd like you to come along, join, with me. And I said, absolutely. I thought it was a great thing. I thought it was exciting, and we lived close to each other. Tony and Geezer lived in England, so they were in England, and Ronnie's like 2 miles from my house,
Yeah.
and we got along so well. It was like really, really close. So I decided to say yes and go with Ronnie. Let's start. Let's do it.
So there was no hesitation or nothing. I mean, to me, I would think, man, that's got to be scary. You got this opportunity to be in one of the hugest bands in all of history, and that takes some guts to walk away from it.
Wait a minute. Huges is not a word.
Yes, it is.
Kind of like the Bowery Boys. You know who they are. Anyway, well, here I am talking to Ronnie, this fucking amazing, great singer who's already got a giant following, so it was like, wasn't like hooking up with somebody unknown and then trying to do something and it doesn't work and then you stop, I kind of knew this would work,
Yeah.
With
and I think I read that you did have the open invitation to stay on with Sabbath. So how did Tony and Geezer take the news that you were not going to stay with them?
Well, they were probably disappointed, I just thought, this was the best choice for me. It was easy we were both in California, Ronnie and I, and, nothing stops Tony and Geezer. So,
Right.
They could go on with me or without me. It's not going to matter so much.
Yeah.
So I just thought this would be a good opportunity and be very exciting, so it was a hard choice, obviously, because we were all I got along with everybody, I consider Tony and Geezer family and of course Ronnie. So, I was in the middle. That happened a couple times with this band too, crazy.
Yeah. Am I right in assuming that Jimmy Bain was a quick first choice to be the bass player for the band just because of their connection to Rainbow?
Well, when we started, it was just Ronnie and I, and we would go in a rehearsal room. Ronnie had some ideas. He played bass, and I played on the drums. And the first thing we had was kind of parts of Holy Diver, and we put it together. Not the whole song, but we did put the different parts and accents and all different things. And then it was, let's get a guitar player first. And we auditioned people in L.A. One of them was Jakey Lee.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was great. And but Ronnie decided he wanted to get a European influence and not have an total American band. Because he's always played with, Richie Blackmore, and then he's played with Sabbath. So there was always an international flavor. So we went over to England to find a guitar player. And he said he's contacted Jimmy. Jimmy will be back in town. We went to London in a couple of days. So in the meantime, Ronnie and I went to different clubs around London looking for guitar players. And one of them was like a reggae band playing, the dreadlocks and stuff. They come on. I go, I don't think that's the guy.
That would have been interesting.
Not the guy. Dreadlocks and stuff. Great stuff, but not what we're looking for. So we went through a couple of those, and then finally Jimmy got back in town. And there was a connection with Ronnie and Jimmy with Rainbow, and Jimmy's a great guy, and they got along. And so I met Jimmy, and Jimmy recommended Vivian Campbell, this guy Viv, who his band, Vivian's band, Sweet Savage opened up for Wild Horses, which was Jimmy's band.
That was a great
So
band.
Jimmy knew him, and they got on good, and he heard Viv play, thought he was amazing. So when Jimmy got back, he called Viv's house at 2 a.m, spoke to his dad, woke him up, and put Viv on the phone. And next day, Viv flew into London, and we jammed. And that was like the magic moment,
Yeah.
We just jammed on stuff, and it just felt right. And Viv was smoking, and Jimmy too. We all got into the same kind of feel, which is great. Because we're all from different countries. Jimmy's from Scotland, Viv's from Ireland, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And Ronnie's from upstate New York, but it all felt right.
So let's talk about a little bit about the main thing a lot of people noticed immediately with this album is the cover. I mean, the cover is a striking album cover, and it's a legendary now.
Yeah.
you know, and I read a little bit up on the creation of it and everything. There's been a lot of controversy over the years of is Murray strangling the priest, or is the priest strangling Murray? Do you have anything you want to elaborate on with that?
Ronnie always went with the not obvious, like the priest was doing Murray and kind of trying to do Murray. And so read between the lines. I don't know. I just love the album cover, and the colors are fantastic. The artwork.
That's beautiful.
Guy who did that is just unbelievable, you know.
And that's what grabbed me the first time.
That's a great cover, you know, just fantastic. I got it up there on the wall on a big one. Did it say Holy Diver on the front? I don't think so. It says Dio.
I think it.
Just maybe it did on the
down on the bottom in small letters.
Yeah, on the bottom. That's a reprint up there.
Yeah, one of the most iconic album covers of all time, and that was the thing that really attracted me to it, being a young kid. And I didn't know nothing about rock bands, so I would look at the album covers of the albums my Uncle Bruce had, and I remember as soon as I saw Holy Diver, I was like, oh, I got to hear this, you know? And then really what you look at, you see the album cover, and then what you get in the music, it really, you know, you're not let down by it. You know, you get the album cover, you see it and go, it fits.
It fits. It totally, I was just going to say that album cover fits the music. And Murray on that particular cover looks badass. It's all muscular. And I seem to think Murray got more cartoon-like as these albums went along. And I didn't particularly care for the cartoon look of it. I like this one. This was really mean looking. And it fit the music, you know. Then you put the album on, it starts off with Stand Up and Shout, and you go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Don't take it off. So it's a great album.
Well,
Ronnie.
Yeah. Is there a particular reason for that name?
Well, everything needs a name. So Ronnie would come.
He just looks like Murray.
Like a stupid name. Like you expect Murray to be maybe a guy in New York at the jewelry district selling watches, you know, Jewish guy.
Right.
Hey, Murray, give me a deal on a watch. So here he is. Here's Murray, you know. That didn't look like Murray.
Yeah. Does not look like a Murray.
Doesn't look like a Murray. So Ronnie just.
So, you know, you guys made this at Sound City, which is, you know, very famous studio. You know, and I watched the documentary about the studio. I've never got the fortune of going to it, but from what that documentary sounds, it sounds like it's like very magical place. I mean, did you have really good memories of being in that place?
Well, Ronnie found that studio. Ronnie and Wendy, they found that studio, and the way it's like a horseshoe kind of shaped, you know, building, and then in the middle is the parking. One side is the rehearsal. They had 3 rehearsal rooms, not very big, but the 3 rooms. Then you go right across. There's the door to Sound City, and they had had the 2 studios. A was the big room, and then there was another room, smaller room, and so it was a great place because we booked it. We blocked it out for like 2 months to rehearse. And that's where we wrote all the songs. And they let us do anything we wanted in there. I mean, we punched holes in the wall. They had pinball machines. We managed to open them up and put like aluminum foil in so you can't lose the ball. I mean, you could play for all night, you know, you didn't have to lose the ball or put any more money in. We wrecked the candy machines, the soda machines, everything. They let us do anything in there. We smoked a lot of pot during that album, and we were having a ball. It was like 7 o'clock was rehearsal time, and it was like the boys' club. You know, we all looked forward to going and hanging out and smoking some pot, and you know, I didn't really drink, but I smoked, and Ronnie smoked and drank, and Jimmy drank more than he smoked, and Viv didn't do anything. He just got high in the room from the vapor. We always say Viv got, you know, contact high, but it was so much fun. It was hanging out. It was something new. It was really cool. It was like, you know, we get paid to do this. Holy shit. And we were writing some great stuff, a lot of jamming, you know, sometimes, I would just get up and play a feel and a groove, and then Viv and Jimmy join in, and Ronnie liked it. He'd get up and just start singing stuff. You know, it was very easy, very natural. There were no rules. There was nothing. And
that's the best way, I think.
Yeah, and that's why that album came out so good. It was all in the feel and what we felt, and nobody said, no, don't do that, don't do that. I mean, I'm playing fills over Ronnie's vocal lines on a lot of stuff, and he didn't care. I inspired him, he inspired me, and anything went, you know. And that was our first album. We didn't have to worry about repeating something from previous albums.
Yeah.
Because the previous album was Sabbath, and that's a whole different sound, you know. So this was fresh and new. So we wrote 4 songs, right? And then, okay, let's go record. So we booked the studio, and we took all this gear right across the parking lot. You know, cymbal stand with the cymbal on it, carrying it across. Drums, we didn't break anything down. Here's the snare drum on the stand. So, you know, we had a couple of guys helping us, and we brought it in the studio. And the Sound City at that time, the board, you know, that board was old, and it was pretty wrecked. I mean, there's some faders didn't work, you know. There was so many drugs from all the bands that recorded in there previously, and drinks spilled and all that shit. And when it rained, which is not much in LA, the roof leaked. So
wow.
The room was big, and when it rained, it would be leaking. We'd have to put a bucket down there. It was like that kind of shit. So what we did was we wanted to get a real live drum sound. So we went to Home Depot and we bought 8 sheets of plywood. And with the plywood, we laid 2 on the floor. Then we built a hut around the drums with a roof. And then I could see the big opening in the front so I could see the band. Mm-hmm. And it got a great drum sound. The wood reflected back into the mics. And that was the way we recorded. And in front of me was Ronnie on a vocal mic, and I could see Viv and Jimmy, and we all played together. All those songs were played start to finish. Vocals obviously were we didn't keep the scratch vocal. We usually kept the bass and the drums, and then some of the guitars, or maybe put another guitar on, split it, you know, stereo guitar. Then Ronnie did his vocal, you know, when it was under control. And then when we finished, move all the shit back to the other room, back to the rehearsal room.
Yeah, and then just work up more.
Yeah. But we did shit like there was a front office in the rehearsal part of it. And this guy, Brett, he was running the thing. He worked there. We used to take the piss out of him all the time. So one night we asked him, could you go get some beer, you know, down at the liquor store and stuff? He goes, yeah. So he goes and leaves. So at night, he had his office set up with a light on, it's a TV there. So when he left, we took the whole office and moved it out in the parking lot. With the light on, with the TV on, we had electric. The chair was there. It looked like an office in the middle of a parking lot, you know. And then we ran back in the room and locked the door so he couldn't get in, you know. So he comes back, what are you doing? And everybody's laughing and shit. My brother rehearsed there with the vanilla fudge. We locked them in the room. We put all our cases up so they couldn't open the door. And we left them. Then we went and played. So we just did crazy shit. It was so much fun.
That's hilarious.
Then we wrote the last 4 songs, did the same thing, moved it over to the studio, and then finished the album up, you know. So the board wasn't in great shape. The studio, you know, it needed some updating. So it just had a vibe, you know.
Right.
And then speaking to Dave Grohl, you know, Nirvana went looking for studios, and they walked in Sound City and they saw a Holy Diver Platinum album. And he said that's what made him record there.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
they were
awesome.
influenced by that album. And then eventually Dave bought the board.
Yeah. I was going to mention
which was
that.
entirely redone. You know,
Yeah.
he had put some serious cash into that board. And I went to Dave's studio and it looked like a new board. It didn't look like the same place. But it's a great board, you know.
A lot of history.
Yeah, I mean, when you imagine what albums were recorded,
a lot of
on
albums
board,
on that board.
Pretty crazy. Well, you know, and I know Wikipedia is not always accurate on stuff, but Wikipedia states in the production notes, original concept by Vinny Dio. What exactly does that mean?
I have no idea.
Okay.
You know, let's call it something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't our idea to put the band together. You know, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, what is the concept? I don't really know, other than a great hard rock metal album.
Yeah, we didn't know it was going to be great. You know, stuff was coming out great. We used to listen to it, you know, on the big speakers, loud, crank it up, and this is good, man. It's good. My drum tech said, "Man, this is going to be platinum," and I'm like, "Wow, I don't know about that. Maybe it'll sell well, but platinum." And sure enough, to this day, the thing still sells.
Well, it's like a gateway album for a lot of metalheads. I mean, like there's a lot of people that really get into metal from this record.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't just fizzle out. It's like, man, that influenced me so much, and you know, it got me started. I mean, I run into Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins a lot of times, and they're, man, stand up and shout that fill in the beginning. I go, really? Oh, I love that, man. I just burn them. We used to play that after the show when we played with the Foo Fighters. They put on Holy Diver in the bus and calm down a little bit. I was like, oh, man, that's a great compliment, you know?
Yeah.
And we didn't, we just made what we felt was our best stuff coming out, you know, best music. But we didn't know we were making this album.
Yeah, so let's go a little bit track by track, if that's okay with you, kind of talk about your memories of each song. So obviously Stand Up and Shout, like, you couldn't pick a better album opener among all the songs on this record.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't know that album, put on that album, and that started with that, I'd go, holy shit. Man, what else is on here?
Right, exactly.
Stand Up and Shout was a song called Bottle of Wine with Viv's band.
Oh, really?
Sweet Savage. The riff of it, the riff. And the riff of it, not the whole song. We rearranged it, we put new parts in and all that stuff, but that's where it came from. It was all played from top to bottom. You know, we did a bunch of takes and got the drums down, and we were cool. So I don't remember much else about that, you know.
Such a banging song, man. I love that one.
Yeah, and then we did the breakdown where it's just guitar and Ronnie, stand up and shout. It was great stuff, like for the 80s, you know. It was a kind of 80s part. Not much to say on that song, although it's a burner, you know.
Yeah.
And it's what's next? Well, Holy Diver was something that Ronnie and I played before there was anybody involved. You know, we go in the studio, a rehearsal place, Ronnie would be on a stool with his bass, sometimes a guitar, but we had down, which is a repeat.
Yes.
And then I suggested, why don't we go down, boom, boom, bam, 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 use these accents to break it up a bit. So we had about that much of it, you know. We didn't have guitar solos or anything. And then when we got Viv and Jimmy, you know, we started working on it, you know. And then it always came to, back then, a guitar solo was always somewhere different to go. It wasn't, you know, we didn't solo over the riff. So we went,
love that part.
So those accents are ba-dong, da-da, ba-da, on the beat. Then we switch it around like that, because some people play it backwards, you know. So, and Ronnie's, you know, started thinking, as, you know, we'd lay it down. Then as the song developed, he'd sit there, write lyrics, get up and sing a little, test it out. And that came, it's actually it sounds like a simple song, but
yeah,
it's the different riffs in there. And a lot of people, I've jammed it with people and they would make mistakes, you know. We play the one part that's almost like this part, but one goes up, one goes down.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. That's the end of the guitar solo. So it's not as simple as you think it is, but that's a good, Jimmy played that stuff really great. That boom, 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 boom. We call that pedaling. The English call it pedaling. That kind of feel.
Yeah, and the interplay between Jimmy Bain and Vivian on that song is just incredible.
Yeah.
And, and also, of course, it gave birth to probably what I call a Dioism that's very famous. Is "Look out!" A lot of,
Yeah.
I even know people that aren't even big Dio fans, but they know that little part of the song.
Yeah. Yeah. But Jimmy was great to play with because he wasn't a technical player and busy. He laid it down, and I'm kind of busy, and it allowed me to fly off where I felt I can fly off and come back. So It was a great combo, Viv fit right into that feel,
Yeah, and
solid.
we interviewed your brother a couple days ago about the making of the Blue Murder record, and you guys are you're different drummers, but you're also you're unique to other drummers, is in the fact that it's not just a straight 4/4 thing. You will let your creativity come out in your fills, and
Right.
I noticed that for both of you.
Well, that's because my take on that is when I grew up learning how to play, I listened to my brother, listened to John Bonham, Mitch Mitchell, Billy Cobham, not so much Keith Moon, but I did listen to it. And the thing, and Buddy Rich, of course, but the thing with those drummers are they didn't play it safe. Nobody played the verse and just boom, boom, 2 and 4 or variation. They didn't play the chorus, just something else. They played in between things. There's fills in the verses. There's fills in the choruses. And I grew up like that. And I went, because, listen to Bonham. I picked stuff up. I went, that's a cool lick he played. Even if it's a little bling, a little something. I go, I like that, So I grew up with that. And I always said that when I get older, make albums, I'm going to have played stuff that drummers would want to listen to and learn,
That's awesome.
But I didn't just sit there and come up with stuff. It just came naturally.
It works.
I didn't play fills to play fills. I just felt them, and then that was my style. I play fills in weird places. So I'm told, So, so that's how Carmine and I differ. We play the same, and then we play different,
Right.
Because we do a show together as well, and we could sound like one big giant drummer, and then we can just go off and kill it on our own.
Next track is Gypsy. Any particular memories of this one coming together?
The only thing I can tell you with Gypsy is after the second chorus, there's a hang and the drums go boom, and there were no drums there before. I left it blank, and when we working on it, we go, it's like a hole there, So I went out and overdubbed boom, and if you listen, it sounds like a different drum sound. It's not matched to the. I think he might have just used room mics or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember. But you know what? I like stuff like that. Nobody said it has to be. That could be an effect drum. It sounds a little different. Why not?
Yeah.
It's like backward cymbal or making it an effect. So I don't really. No, it's just a rocker.
Yeah,
I think it was kind of tailored after AC/DC kind of thing.
I can hear that.
Straight boom, 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 boom.
See, and that's part of what I love about this album so much is that You've got a song like Gypsy, which, like you say, is AC/DC, kind of just a straight-ahead rocker. But then you got stuff like Holy Diver, too, where it almost borderlines on some prog rock stuff, because there's so many intricacies going on in the song between the drumming and the guitar playing and even the out-of-this-world lyrics, that Ronnie's coming up with, where Dio, it's hard to pin him down, because you get different things and different songs out of this band, and especially on this album.
Yeah, and the melodies Ronnie came up with are incredible, singing his ass off, He was totally inspired by this band. Yeah, he knew he had a great band and we're writing great stuff, so he just belted it out. It was easy for him to just fly over this stuff. And it came easy for him. But the melodies and the notes he was hitting used to sound fire,
Yeah.
That's why, he would inspire me. He kicked me in the ass, I kick him in the ass, So it was really so much fun, so creative.
Was a lot of his vocal takes one take done, takes, or did he do a lot of takes for songs?
No, Ronnie likes to record like he'll do a verse, well, maybe half a verse. Let's listen back. Because a lot of times when he's recording, he's not sure, it's not set in stone what he's going to sing.
Okay.
He didn't have everything set in stone where, okay, I know what I'm going to sing, roll it, and sing. He had an idea and he would sing it. Then he'd listen back on the phones and go, all right, take it from the after the first sentence, punch me in. And he'd build his vocal that way.
Right.
Until he was comfortable where it sat. But he didn't sing the whole song. He didn't sing the whole verse. He went in and out, like that.
I suppose, and that's the way to do it if you're trying it out. If you're seeing, does this work? Does that work? Well, that's not going to work. Let me try this. Perfect, right there, kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's perfect hearing. You hear the song perfectly. It's recorded in a studio. It's not like we're rehearsing where it's pretty loud and noisy. So he's got it right on his headphones, and he's able to really hear where his vocal's sitting. He always knew where he was, but, he'd sing that. Think, okay, take it from here. And we'd sit there and go, holy shit, that was amazing. No. Do it again. Yeah. And he'd do it even better.
And he's producer on this record. So, and obviously he had a definite vision for what he wanted to do with this. But, did the record company try to push a producer on you guys, or were they okay with him running the show?
They were okay.
They were cool with it. Okay.
They'd let us do whatever we want. They're better off.
That's a good freedom to have making a record then.
Yeah, I tell you, the producer, the first thing he would have said was, you can't play those rolls there. It's a verse.
Yeah, no fills there.
Yeah.
I suppose that record company's got to have a lot of faith in Dio if they gave him the contract before he was even out of Sabbath. And Ronnie's got to feel like he's kind of got something to prove coming out of here. The band's named after, his last name. And, especially coming from, like I said, like a band like Sabbath. I mean, there's got to be extra inspiration for you guys to kick some ass to prove that you're able to step out from underneath that shadow.
Right. But they had a lot of faith in Ronnie because it was a good-sized record deal. He sang in Rainbow. He sang in Sabbath. The Heaven and Hell album was so big. They were in arenas. So, of course, they're going to, back then, there was a lot of money floating around in the music business. Give Dio a deal,
Yeah.
How could you miss? Even if it only sold a couple 100,000 copies, it wasn't as big as a deal as Sabbath, but the deal was there. And then Ronnie just came on strong when we got the right band together. That was just how we got Jimmy and Viv, and it's just lucky. It all came together, and that band was the magical band.
It really was. Magic. Well, and then the next track is Caught in the Middle, and you have a co-write on this one with Vivian and Ronnie.
Well, we should have had a co-write on all of them because Ronnie didn't write the songs by himself.
Right.
That's called music politics.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, me and Ronnie started Holy Diver. It was his idea, but I put my 2 cents in a couple of times.
Yeah, I was wondering why
everybody else did.
On that.
Well, because it was politics.
Yeah.
Caught in the Middle, I think the beginning was another Sweet Savage riff. Mm-hmm. And then we took it and we worked it and worked it and worked it. And then it became Caught in the Middle. Caught in the Middle was about our sound man, Angelo. I didn't even know this. I was told this not long ago. Or I was told it, I forgot. Because he was always caught in the middle of relationships and different things in life. And so that's what he wrote it about. And then the thing for me on that song, which is odd, is the verses are played on the ride cymbal. Mm-hmm. They're not on the hi-hat as they usually would do. And then I think this halftime part was a bit of a Sweet Savage riff too.
Yeah.
And then we just played it and did it our way, put stuff in there. So
I think this song, I was listening to the whole album today a few times just to get ready for this, and obviously the singles that were picked, were very well picked, but this one had single potential too, in my opinion. I think this would have sounded great on the radio.
Yeah, it's a good song, straight ahead.
Yeah,
I'm straight ahead, but it's still rock.
Maybe it's just what you need. Letting the river in you flow. You can sail away to the sun and let it burn you where it can.
Yeah, I like playing it. We used to play that live with Last in Line, so that was great.
Oh, cool.
Girls like that song too.
So then that goes to the next side is Don't Talk to Strangers, leads off the second side of the record.
I don't remember. It's a long time ago, so I don't
know I know
how we came up with it. I think Ronnie might have had that intro, some of those chords. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we said, well, we don't want to stay there. We want to start, going on fire. And that was my Keith Moon stuff. Keith played fills of a lot of accents. And that song, a lot of it just came naturally, Mm-hmm. And then it was that pedaling feel again, and then we thought, well, it could be a break it up with a halftime. Somewhere we went back to halftime. I know at the end we did. So that was just a burning song, that was my tribute to Keith Moon.
This is the first Dio song I ever heard. It was on one of those like Metal Master compilation cassette tapes. And I remember being a teenager listening to it and the first time, and it's like, okay, I don't even know who this band is, and it starts playing. And my initial reaction is, oh, I'm not going to like this. Because it's so ballady when it first kicks in, and then it's like, I don't like this, but then you let it play, and then it's like, oh, liberating, like the power in Ronnie's voice when he like growls it, and then when it kicks in, it was like, holy shit, this is amazing, and then it was, I got to know more about Dio. That was the song that first drew me in. And like I said, at first, I wasn't into like the power ballads. But when
nor were we. I don't really play ballads.
No, and that was me being young and not understanding what this is,
That's called an intro.
Right, yeah.
So we almost said, we do the intro like that and then just slam it. Because we're not going to play a love song. We're not going to play a ballad. Ronnie felt the same way. I mean, my first website was Vinny Appice, loudest drummer in rock. No ballads, no unplugged shit, no love songs, no problem.
Nice.
And my brother used to go, no work.
That's a good point,
it's like
too.
One of those songs that lures you into a feeling of safeness and then hits you over the head with a sledgehammer, just when you think, oh, this is nice.
It's like the beginning of Last in Line. It's so nice.
Same thing, yeah.
Oh, wow. And then it changes. Yeah. That's why later on when he did This Is Your Life, before he passed, I said, it's good. You know what? We never did a ballad. Maybe it's time to something
right
like that. And that's when it was time.
Well, with Don't Talk to Strangers, I don't know if you're probably familiar with, there's a lot of YouTubers that do reaction videos to these old metal songs. Mm-hmm. And this one is actually done by quite a few of them. And it's these young millennials watching the videos, and This song in particular, they'll get into that ballady at the beginning. Oh, this is nice. This sounds really sweet. And then all of a sudden, when the hammer drops, their eyes just about pop out of their head. Like, whoa, what happened? It still grabs people by the throat when it kicks in. It's a great song.
That's funny. Yeah, they all came out amazing. I'm not tooting my own horn, but it just was there. Everything. It was that window of some great songs for us. And great time. It was the right time, the right place. Everything, the whole thing was in sync.
Great time for rock and metal in general too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it was really the heyday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So then it goes to Straight Through the Heart, which I did read was like the title was a Sweet Savage title, and then you guys used that title for this song.
I think that's correct. And Jimmy had that riff.
Great riff.
I love that.
Jimmy had that riff, so we were grooving on that. And then we wanted an intro. So, okay, let's start with the drums, So I did this, what they call replacement triplet. And I had, 4 toms up here and 2 here. Had a big kit in the studio. So I went from high to low. And then I thought, let's double that. And I'll go from low to high.
Oh, that's cool.
So I did the same fill going up. So now they start on either side and it's panned.
Crossover. Yeah.
And it sounds like an effect. Everybody kind of goes, what did you play there? So it sounds like that. It's just these triplets. And just because they're replacements, they sound a little bit off here and there. And then the panning, and there's probably a bit of an effect on it, made it like a great intro.
Beautiful, yeah. Well, and the riff that Jimmy wrote for that is just amazing.
Yeah.
It's that song has so much punch and groove to it.
And then it went to again the pedaling, straight through the heart. And then if you hear the solo, of course, we used to sit there. We need a solo. We try different chords, and then we came up with that solo down the middle 8. That's from na 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 hey hey goodbye. Used to sing it, but it works so well. We didn't listen to the song and go, hey, let's take that. It's evolved into that. And I said, we all said it sounds like that song. It was great. It's a great solo.
The bass in that song always gives me feelings of like 70s, like Glenn Hughes era Deep Purple kind of.
Yeah, that's a badass song. It's got that, straight down, this kick.
Yeah.
Great riff.
Yeah.
Good riff.
Attitude.
Jimmy Bain.
So then that goes in, next song is Invisible.
Invisible, again, another intro, which is cool because then we're becoming a band. They have these weird, very nice short intros and then it slams into something. Invisible, it starts off with that.
Yeah.
Right. So Ronnie said, I want to have something like that. Invisible, like it appears or it goes away.
Right.
Back then, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have computers. So we were all sitting around smoking some pot and shit. Let's like a tire, like air escaping.
Yeah.
Let's get a tire. That's how crazy it was. And one of our crew, Tom, I got a tire in the back of my truck. Go get the tire. Brings the tire in the studio. Now we're miking a tire. No one's really ever mic'd a tire.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Yeah.
So we mic'd the tire. They're all cracking up. And then we go, okay, Tom, do it. He had to do it a couple times. He had enough air in there to do it a couple times.
Right.
And that's what it is. And Angelo Arcuri, who's the engineer, we grew up together, Angelo and I. And
Yeah.
he was actually sound man for Sabbath. I got him into that. And then when I went over to Dio, he came along. But he was always at the rehearsals every night, which was great. Our engineers there every night. And helping us record the stuff, because what we was record on cassette. I would usually run it or tell Angelo, record when we're jamming on something. This is really cool. So we have it and we can listen later and build on it if we want to use it. So he recorded the tire. So that's a tire. And then we're listening at the rehearsal room, and one of the riffs in boom 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 boom. We had that riff and we recorded it. And then when we came in that night, we said, Angelo, play that thing we were jamming on last night. So he put the 4-track cassette tape upside down. So that means it's going to play backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
So he puts it on and it's playing backwards. And we go, you fuck, you laughing at him. You ass, have another cough, or drink or whatever. And we were cracking up. He put it backwards. Then we were, wait, that's a cool riff.
Wow.
Let's learn that riff. So
Wow.
Invisible is the same riff backwards. I don't know which one's which, but one of them's forward, one of them's backwards.
Oh, that's wild.
And we used the riff. That's what I'm saying. We had open minds. Anything. The word can't wasn't there. It's like, hey, dude, that's a cool riff. Let's try it. And we tried it, and it worked great.
You never know till you try, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the story with that song. I don't know.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a lyric guy. I don't really get into lyrics, so I don't know what his lyrics are saying and what's in there.
I'm just think your friend Tom probably should have saved that tire, because he could probably get 4 figures for it on eBay right now.
If he was
Right.
smart, he
The
would have said,
tire.
hey, I want you guys to sign it, and kept the tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have had a tire endorsement deal or something.
Yeah. Because back then you had to think. It wasn't like, hey, let me go on Google and get an invisible sound and then download the sound effect. We had to come up with stuff,
But that breeds creativity, that's awesome.
And there's no click. We never use the click.
So then that brings us to probably the most well-known song on the album, "Rainbow in the Dark." How did this song come about?
I remember just playing a beat and then started jamming with Viv and Jimmy. And Ronnie didn't like it at first. He thought it was too poppy.
Oh, really?
But we had the kind of parts of that song, and then he was convinced that this is really a good thing. Especially the girls liked it, So it's not just appealing to the metal heads.
When there's lightning, it always brings me down. 'Cause it's free and I see that it's me who's lost and never found. I cry.
And then I think the intro, we just said, let's play it again. And I counted it, and we just went boom. And I just counted it in after that. And then we heard it. We go, that sounds good. Let's leave it, Let's leave that in the song. And then Ronnie wanted to have that boom, 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 real 80s thing. And I had those big aerial toms, big. It was perfect. Boom, boom. So we put the song together. So that was more of a jam song, And luckily we did that song because that was the biggest hit, They're still using it in movies and everywhere.
Did Jimmy come up with the keyboard line for
Well, it's funny because we had the song at the rehearsal room pretty down, and we're listening to it. We're all rocking. Yeah. And Jimmy's over there. He's got a cigarette in his mouth, Jim Beam and Coke. And there's a keyboard over here going through the PA. So while the song's playing, he's got an ash coming out the cigarette, walks over to the keyboard, and he grabs the cigarette with one hand and holding the drink. The ash is still on it. It didn't drop. And he goes, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. He puts the cigarette back in his mouth, walks over there. The ash is still on the cigarette. He even dropped the ash. And we went, holy shit, that sounds great. So that part was born.
Wow.
It's amazing how simple it is. You know,
Yeah,
just
natural.
Exactly.
Natural.
That's the thing I think I'm getting out of this conversation with you is what a organic, natural thing this album really was to create. And
It was, yeah.
And man, that comes through the speakers, man. Even still to this day in 2021, when you throw that on and listen to it, that feeling of naturalness of it,
Right.
it still comes through the speakers. I love it so much.
Yeah. There's feel to the whole thing. It's not just you put it on and it's verse, chorus, verse, chorus.
Right.
It's verse with a little go somewhere, you know.
Mhm.
And the drums move a lot because I don't play the safe stuff. I'm moving it a little bit, and Ronnie's moving it, and it's just all feel, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. And a good sound. Angelo got some great sounds, you know, on everything.
Yeah.
Working with Ronnie.
Yeah, the production and the mix on it still stand the test of time today. It still sounds like a fresh record when you listen to it.
Got a lot of punch to it.
So I was kind of amazed when I realized that Ronnie James Dio was the one that produced it, and I go, wow, you know, this sounds like Michael Wagner. This sounds like, you know, Bo Hill or somebody, you know, some famous producer, because it sounds so good sonically. And then you look and go, well, who produced this? Well, Ronnie James Dio did. Then you think, well, I guess he spent a lot of time under the learning tree of a lot of good producers over the years before he got to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was good. You know what? But you can only produce so much. It's got to be great musicians working with it that
Yeah,
Right.
that know how to get a sound too. You
sure,
know,
true.
you know, even in the rehearsal room, the band sounded badass. You know,
Yeah.
Jimmy could plug into a refrigerator and he could
Still
play
sound great.
and get a great sound. It was Jimmy. But Ronnie had a lot of work, lots to work
believe
with,
it.
and Angelo was a great end. Together, it was a great brainstorm. You know.
So then that closes the record out with Shame on the Night.
Shame on the Night was, you know, kind of like a Sabbathy, doomy song, and we called them the Monks. Ronnie did the vocals all the number of times, and we put the Monks in at the end. And then there's a laugh on it. You know, he did the laugh. We wanted to make it really evil. And then I said to Ronnie, I said, you know what? In Sabbath, everybody thought we put some backward shit on the record. Mob Rules or anything we did, you know, like, oh, you play it backwards and fire breaks out and something. I said, let's put something backwards on this song. It's the end of the album. He goes, yeah, let's do that. So when it's fading out, I think it's right after the laugh. He goes, and you could hear it if you know it's there.
Yeah.
And what he said was, crucify the diver. And nobody said a word. Nobody mentioned it. There you got a story of being accused of doing something that you didn't do on the other albums. And then you do it. And nobody says a word.
That's a trip.
And then we had the
Oh.
Monks, which were Ronnie overdub probably 4 different voices.
All right.
That faded in. That was more like almost like a tribute to Sabbath, a very doomy, dark song.
I can see
you know?
that.
That's a cool way to wrap the album.
It's almost like heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Shame on the don't, just bass and drums. We wanted to have that, you know. Well, from there you could build up to something really cool. As soon as we get loud and the guitar comes in, it's such a drastic change. And then then it went do do do. Then I don't know. I think that was just for fun, kind of a jazz riff. Do 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 do. Somebody came up with that, and we went, let's put it in the song. It's so weird, you know. All of a sudden, it goes into this little whiff without drums, just bass and guitar clean, almost like a jazz riff.
Yeah.
And then it goes kicking in. We called the third verse the third heaviest verse in the world, because when it kicked in, and I'm hitting the bass drum, boom, 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 bah, boom, boom, bah, boom. You know, so we said that's the third heaviest verse in the world. We named it. So.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, I always love albums that end like with a unique track at the end, and that's definitely one of those. Like, it's a good way to wrap the whole record up.
But how many
you know?
times have you heard it and you didn't know it was backwards?
Oh, I know. I'm going to listen to it completely different.
Yeah, no, I'm
again.
going to totally go back and listen to it.
There's something else somewhere, because we were recording and I'm facing this way. The control room's behind me, and Ronnie's looking at me when we were recording, and we must have just finished something. My brother Carmine came in, and Ronnie goes, "Look behind you." And I went, "Why?" It's a fucking ghost behind me. What? The way he said it, you know, it was like scary. "Look behind you." I went, "Oh shit." And I look, and it's Carmine. But I said, let's put that on the album somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's on there somewhere. I don't remember where that is.
Oh, wow. I'm going to listen for that. You've given us so many cool nuggets of information that people are going to go
Easter
back and
eggs.
check out. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's cool stuff.
Like in
Well, and then,
computers.
like, as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, this album had the controversy with the cover and everything. Did you guys and Ronnie, like, did you guys kind of enjoy the little play with, you know, people kind of going up in arms with some of this stuff? And what was your, because, you know, that was the whole Satanic Panic era. And I know that you guys got lumped into that stuff. What were your thoughts at the time of that? Did it bother you, or were you like, hey, it's extra press for us, why not?
No, it's cool. We loved it, you know. Matter of fact, Ronnie and I, when we were in Sabbath, we were booked to play in Phoenix on Easter Sunday. And everybody started protesting. They were protesting outside with Bibles. Can't have Black Sabbath play on Easter Sunday. It was a big thing. It was in the news and shit. So we had to move the show to the next day. Luckily, we had on Monday. So we went through that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then one time with Black Sabbath in the studio, probably doing the Mob Rules, Rod Stewart was next door, and they wanted to come in once in a while, so we put crosses all over the place, you know, just for the hell of it, you know. They walked in, and, whoa, these guys are serious. What's going on in here, you know? So we put a whole bunch of crosses and shit, you know.
It was a different time though with all
and
that
then we
stuff.
used to do, you know, when in England in the old hotels, and we did seances, a couple of seances and shit, you know. Ronnie liked doing that, yeah.
Do you have any results from them?
Here and there, smells and winds, and sometimes, you know, there was one where the big main house, you know, after the show, we're in there having a drink. It's like an old mansion, you know, just us. And this old guy with the tray. You want the drink? And we're doing a seance, and it's getting spooky. And then I look out the window, and the rooms were, you had to walk across the parking lot. You know, it's all trees and it's dark, probably cemetery somewhere. And supposedly some prostitute got murdered there hundreds of years ago.
Right.
Seen walking around. So it's like 2 a.m. Now it's like, okay, now I got to walk to my room. I don't think I ran so fast ever. I got to the door. There's my room. Wow. I watched too many Frankenstein movies when I grew up.
Wow.
Oh man, yeah. Well, even if it wasn't real, you probably conjured up enough in your imagination to make it real.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, there were rooms in England where you look out the window. It's at night after the show. Look out, and there's this whole church cemetery. That holy shit! And I'd look at anything moving. Yeah, it's like whoa, spooky stuff.
Man.
Then I'd close the curtains. Fuck that! I'm not looking at that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, another thing about this album too that always stands out to me is the fantasy kind of lyrics that Ronnie wrote for it. You know, and a lot of these songs got like the Hobbit sort of feel to it. And I know around the time this album's coming out is kind of like the rise in popularity of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I always imagine in my mind when you listen to an album like this, did Ronnie James Dio play Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
He
played
that.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Pac-Man was big. He loved that. He had the high score, and we had games there. You know, what was the other one with Missile something?
Oh, Missile Command.
Space Invaders.
Missile Command, and Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he loved that stuff. That back then, that's what was happening. You know, he just wrote those lyrics. I mean, that's what he's been in England so much, and he was very inspired by it. He reads a lot of books.
Yeah.
I mean, he reads books in 3 days, you know, and 2 days a day he could read a whole book. Actually, I bring books on the road back then, and I would read like 2 pages, and I'd go, oh, I'm tired, go to sleep. Next time I read it, it's 1 page. So they're all folded over. So every 2 pages, 3 pages, the fucking book is folded over. Ronnie ran out of books. Goes, any books I could borrow? I go, yeah, I got this one. And he starts laughing. He's reading, then he's folded over. Next page, that's folded over again. Like, Jesus, you can only read 2 pages? But he could read the shit all night, man. So very, very sharp, very educated, you know.
Yeah, very cerebral.
He was going to be a pharmacist.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So he knew his stuff. He, you know, very sharp with that, and very worldly from reading all the books and being around the world. And so he was really intrigued with all that.
Well, I'm sure glad he didn't end up being a stinking pharmacist.
I know.
What a loss for the world that'd have been.
Well, maybe he would have been like Dr. Kevorkian and start giving people the wrong shit.
Yeah.
He died. Oh, shit. All these people are dying from pharmacy.
Dr. Dio.
Dr. Dio.
There's a Photoshop waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I want to thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Also, you know, as we mentioned, you and Carmine have a great show called Hangin' and Bangin', which is now on the Pantheon Podcast Network, which is also our network. So
Yeah.
glad to have you on there, and I want to give you guys a plug, and we'll put links in the show notes to all that.
Cool.
Is there anything else you want to promote before
Yeah,
we
and
get
also
off here?
I do my own show tomorrow night. I do it every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It's on Facebook, Vinny Appice Official, and it's a drum show. You know,
cool.
It started off as supposed to be like a teaching thing, but now it's turned out to be a full rock show kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah, because
Awesome.
otherwise, how many things are you going to teach? And, you know, I got a lot of girls watching. I got a lot of non-drummers, you know, bass players, guitar players. So, you know, it's got an intro. I play some cool songs. I tell these kinds of stories, show some rock memorabilia that's in my house because it's full of rock memorabilia. Then we take questions. It's an hour long. And I got a great drum sound. You know, it's done here. Get out of the way. There's my drums.
Nice.
Sawtooth Drums, my friend's company. They sponsor it. It's fantastic drums. And so every Tuesday on Facebook, 4 p.m., if you can put that in there, that'd be great. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll put links to all of it on there.
Yeah, I'm going to start watching that. That sounds cool as
Yeah,
hell.
it's got a big badass drum sound on it compared because it's streaming. And I took a while to figure out how to get a really good drum sound because I've seen some of these things and they're really clean and that not here, that fucking bass drum is distorting and you know, just that little crunch of, you know, kind of like
Right.
Holy Diver, you know. So
Yeah. We'll definitely check it out, and we'll spread the word for you on
yeah,
there.
thanks. That'd be cool.
Cool. So thanks again for doing this. It was great to
Awesome.
talk to you.
Thank you, Chris and Aaron. Thank you. And I'd like to thank all the fans that have been listening to the music I made all these years. It's really, I really appreciate it. It's really nice to be able to still go out and people want to hear this stuff. So it's fun.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you back on sometime to talk about one of the other records in your
Right,
catalog.
yeah, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah, it's a lot of records.
You know what? And thank you for making it all because, man, you made the music that makes us all happy. So, it goes both ways.
Well, that's what we always said, when we're making this stuff, like these albums, the Holy Diver, we don't sit there and go, this is going to touch somebody's life.
Right.
Somebody may be going through a bad time, and then this album comes out, and they pick that song that makes them feel better. So music makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Most music. And so we don't think like that. And then you go on the road, and these people come up and go, man, if it wasn't for that album, I couldn't, I don't know what would have happened, or that song. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
We do. We don't think of that when we just make the stuff,
I mean, geez, even look at like Rainbow in the Dark. It's such an uplifting tune. You can't help but feel good when you hear it.
Yeah. It's amazing. Music is great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys take care. Thank you for having me, and I'll see you soon. Check out the shows.
Definitely will.
All right,
Thanks, Vin.
Thanks, Vinny.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.